there any disturbance in the audio, or are you people able to hear me very clear? Do I need to speak loudly? Are you on to all? This evening, we are all coming together to concentrate on one of the very important aspects of Vedanta. One part, and before we could extend the discussions, I think the rest of the attendees need to mute themselves. The rest of the attendees need to mute themselves since I can. There is a yes. Thank you very much. We will begin this evening session with a prayer of invocation. Kindly join me in the prayer. If you know, you could join me by chanting together along with me. And if this prayer is not known, just be there along with me in the spirit. Om. Om Yo Brahmanam Vidadhati Purvam Yo Vai Vedanscha Prahinoti Tasmai Tam Devamatma Buddhi Prakasham Mokshurvai Sharanamaham Prapadye. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Namo Brahmanebhyo Brahma Vidya Sampradaya Kartrabhyo Mahadbhyo Namo Gurubhyaha Sarvopaplavarahita Prajnana Pratyagartho Brahmaivahamasmi Brahmaivahamasmi. Vedantartha Vibhasakaya Gurave Shantaya Sannyasine Nanavadi Nagendra Sanghapavaye Yogindra Vandyaya Cha Mohatvanta Divakaraya Bhagavat Padabhidham Bibhrate Tasmai Bhashyakute Namostu Satatam Purnaya Bodhatmane. If the teaching of Vedanta has to be summarized just in one sentence, it already has been done. And this work has been already accomplished by the Upanishad. The Upanishad, the main teaching, the principal teaching, is just one sentence consisting of 3 words. Tattvamasi, that thou art. And with that sentence, the entire essence of the Vedas, of the Upanishad, is encapsulated. And rest of the work, whether it is through the original source book of the Upanishad or it is through the works of the great teachers, everything goes only into explanation of this one sentence, that thou art. Every human being, all of us, without an exception, recognize our own presence as a conscious being. If I have to put this in simple terms, we all will say that we are living beings. Everybody will agree, without an exception, to say, to know that we are sentient, we are living, we are conscious, and we are aware of our own presence, our own being. And therefore, we are conscious. I am a conscious being is everybody's common knowledge. A note to be made at this particular point is that when I'm going to say the word knowledge, I'm not going to split it into, I'm not going to allow this bifurcation to happen of knowledge and experience. Because every experience essentially is knowledge. Without knowing, it cannot become experience. The basic constituent of what you call as experience is knowledge. And there has been sufficient confusion about this, because people are going to say there is experiential knowledge and there is intellectual knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. This is lack of analysis, because Vedanta further is going to tell you that what we call as knowledge, what we call as consciousness, what we call as experience is one and the same. Is one and the same. The topic, the theme of this evening is one consciousness. Everybody recognizes himself as a conscious being. And as a conscious being, then he says that consciousness is a quality which is associated with me. I am conscious of the sound, I am conscious of the touch, I am conscious of various cognitive processes, I am conscious of various emotions, and therefore consciousness is a quality which is associated with me. And this is our basic interpretation about our being. Vedanta goes to say that it is not that I am endowed with the quality of consciousness, but I am that consciousness. And I, which is this consciousness, is not one per head. It is just one indivisible consciousness. All the divisions, all the differences cannot break the consciousness and make it into multiple consciousnesses. There is only one consciousness. And knowing this, that this is what I am, the Upanishad, the Vedanta comes to say that all the suffering comes to an end, because we all are aware of this fact that wherever there is a division, wherever there is a difference, those differences are the cause of insecurity. Wherever there is a division, then those divisions, those differences, the duality is the cause of insecurity, is the cause of conflict. Is the cause of fear. Dvitiyadvai bhayam bhavati. Bhayam is to be understood just not as insecurity or fear, but bhayam has to be understood as suffering itself. Wherever there is going to be any form of difference, yad udaram antaram kurute tasya bhayam bhavati. Even little bit of difference is going to cause insecurity. If you are going to suspect that there is some difference between you and something else, that itself is going to breed conflict, insecurity, suffering of various kinds. And therefore, wherever the duality or wherever the differences disappear, wherever the differences become insignificant, we experience peace, joy, love, happiness. All this is when the differences have become negligible. Vedanta is not going to talk to you about making the differences negligible. Vedanta talks about that, knowing that truth which is indivisible, where there is no possibility, even a bleak possibility of any difference, any division, any duality at all, which can breed the chain of suffering, the chain of insecurity, the chain of misery. And therefore, Vedanta says that there is one consciousness. Here is the teaching of Vedanta that there is just one consciousness. That consciousness which is not limited by time, space, or any object. And therefore, there is no division. The three parameters which cause the division, the time, the space, the object, none of these parameters are valid over here. And they fail to create any difference, because those three, desha, kala, vastu, time, space, and object, all these three appear in the consciousness and disappear in the consciousness. That what appears and disappears, like the dreams, the clouds appear and disappear in the sky. in this space, but the appearance and disappearance of the clouds is not able to cause any division, any crack, any difference in the space. Like that, all these three parameters, which otherwise are the very basis of your transactional world, of your transactional existence, Vyavaharik Jagat, are then only an appearance, a dream-like appearance that rises and that falls. And all these things appear and disappear in this consciousness. And therefore, this consciousness is not affected by any of these differences, by any of these parameters. Neither the time is able to cut it, nor the space is able to cut it, not even the objects are able to scatter it, divide it, and that is this consciousness. He whosoever knows this is what is the nature of the self, overcomes grief, tarati shokam atmavit. He overcomes grief, he crosses over every form of sorrow, every form of misery. Whether it is in form of desire, whether it is in form of unfulfilled desires, whether it is in form of unfulfillable desires, whatever. And therefore, he who has known it, known the self as to be this one consciousness without any divisions, then remains untouched by the sorrow, by the grief, by the fear, by misery, by suffering. It is not the loneliness nor the frustration. It is not even the fear. It is not even the fear of death and insecurity of life. It is not even the sense of futility which arises in a person as he sees the life ebb away. And therefore, the seers, the rishis of the Upanishad see this as the grand elixir, as the grand medicine to the problem of human existence. The problem of suffering ends in knowing that the Atma, the self, consciousness is one and indivisible, undivided. When the Upanishad gives you this teaching, you are going to say it is nice, a nice concept presented by the Upanishad. But mind you, when you are going to say it is a concept, somewhere you already have agreed saying that it is not a reality. When you are going to say it is a concept, then it is not a fact. You may have to turn it into a fact through your belief, through your action. Somehow that concept then needs to be turned into a fact. But it is a concept, and when you are going to say it is a concept, it may have a possibility of becoming a fact, but it is not a fact. And therefore, when this is seen or understood only as a concept, there is going to be a problem that it can turn into a belief system. And if it is a belief system, then your strength is only the faith in that. If it is a belief system, it means you simply keep on believing in it. But the Upanishad says it is Satyam, which means it is an existential fact. It is a fact. And if it is a fact, which means all that is required is to know. To know. So then when the Upanishad says that this is what you are this one consciousness, then why does it appear as if it is a concept? It appears as a concept not because it is a concept. It appears as a concept because you have accepted something which is not the fact as reality, and therefore now the reality appears as a concept. Therefore, what is real is known. If there is a red rose in front of you, to know the rose as rose and not as a jasmine or lotus is knowledge. And it will be reported to you by the pramanas, by the valid means of knowledge. Here the Upanishad becomes the valid means of knowledge, the pramana, and tells that Atma is Brahman. Knowing well, this is what is the conclusion of the Upanishad, is called as Shravanam. But because this knowledge is fraught with doubt, it is fraught with viparyaya, contradictions, and therefore, though it is a fact, now that fact, the knowledge has become as if it is a concept. I will bring to you the classic example that we often use. No teaching of Vedanta, the class cannot be really completed without the Rajju Sarpa. We need it. You enter into a room which is inadequately lit, dimly lit, there is insufficient light, and you experience a snake in front of you, then you are going to scream, you are going to be scared, petrified of the snake. A friend of yours tells you that it is not a snake, it is a rope. You may feel a little relieved that it is not a snake. But you have your own doubt. And your doubt is that it may be a snake or it may be a doubt. Whenever your knowledge is of Ubhayakoti, there are two sides and both the sides appear to have equal weightage, then such a knowledge is called as to be samshaya. Ubhayakotyatmaka. Both. It may be a snake, it may be a rope. It could be a snake because I am experiencing it as a snake, but there is a possibility that it is a rope because a friend of mine whom I trust tells me that it is a rope. And therefore, because now this experience, this knowledge that it is a rope has got some doubt sitting in it, because it has got contradictions sitting in it, and therefore, though you have the knowledge that it is a rope, you are going to say, this is a rope. That knowledge is a conceptual knowledge. It is yet not an experiential knowledge. What really distinguishes between what you are saying as intellectual knowledge and experiential knowledge is nothing more than just this. Knowledge is knowledge whenever the knowledge is fed, whenever it is sitting with doubts and contradictions, samshaya viparyayam, then that knowledge as if becomes, it is a conceptual knowledge. Otherwise, intellectual knowledge, and on this basis, a lot of teachers and lot of people are confused. They keep on asking for experiential knowledge, which they cannot gain. And that's why they go from one place to another place, one teacher to another teacher, one system to another teacher, only in search of some experience. It is not, there is no dearth of experience. What is lacking is only one thing, and that is that this knowledge needs to be filtered, needs to be seen without contradictions and doubts. Samshaya and viparyaya needs to be removed. So therefore, when the Upanishad says that this Atma is complete one, that consciousness is not a quality of Atma, but I am consciousness, and this consciousness is Purnam, without any limitation caused by the time, space, and object. This is all that one needs to know very clearly. Just needs to know very clearly. And anything that is going to help you gain this knowledge, then in the terms of Bhagavad Gita, is called as yoga. This is what is called as yoga. Yoga means the means to this knowledge. The meaning is, it is a means, it is a way to this knowledge, to moksha, sadhanam. That what is a sadhana is called as yoga over here. So then, when the Upanishad has said that Atma is Brahman, one consciousness, but your experience keeps on telling you, your knowledge keeps on telling you that you are a small little individual. You are not consciousness, but you are a conscious individual. You are an individual who is conscious of its environment, external as well as internal. You are aware of the world, Bahir Jagat and Antar Jagat. The world of Shabda Sparsha Rupa Rasa Gandha is the world spread outside, and the internal world of thoughts, cognitions, emotions, etc. are also experienced by you. So your experience keeps on saying that you are a conscious being, conscious of the world. You are conscious of the world as a conscious being. And this experience of yours now needs to be verified. It has to be questioned. You are an individual who is the experiencer and the doer. Aham karta, aham bhokta, aham parichinnaha. that I am limited, I am a small little individual, and I want to grow. I want to become so big that no limitations are there on me. There are no limitations, no alpata. I want to grow that big. But you basically say, I am so small. If you are intrinsically small, alpam, then there is no possibility that you could ever become ananta. Because you are intrinsically small. You cannot become anantam, but every individual's ultimate and the real desire is to find himself as anantam, limitless. As long as you are going to be limited by time, there is going to be fear of old age, there is going to be fear of death, there is going to be fear, there is going to be insecurity because of conditions, because of conditions around you. Once when you have said that you are limited, then you are limited in space. It is going to cause you fear, anxiety because of it. You are here and what you love is somewhere else, what you like is somewhere else, and therefore there is a gap, there is a distance between you and what your happiness, the distance of space. Thus, that itself is a cause of anxiety, a cause of dukkha, a cause of suffering. Therefore, when we say that I am a conscious being, this statement of yours really needs to be verified. We have taken several things for granted without questioning it. We have really never inquired into the reality, into the fact of anything, and then accepted it. And once when something is accepted, and if it is reiterated again and again, if something is told to us again and again, though it is not a fact, it will start appearing as a fact. Though this self is not this ego or karta bhokta, small little individual, but because of ignorance, this one thing keeps on getting repeated on and has been since time immemorial, and therefore it appears as if it is a fact. On having made the inquiry, and resolving the doubts through the process of mananam, then you discover that this I is not a conscious being, but being is consciousness. And this consciousness is not limited by time, space, and object, because time, space, and object appear in consciousness and disappears again. That what comes and goes like a dream, that what is seen, drishyatvat, it is drishyam, it is an object of the consciousness. In the consciousness, it is illumined in the consciousness, in the awareness. And because it appears in the consciousness, yet it cannot touch the consciousness. It cannot cause any division of the consciousness, and therefore consciousness remains one, untouched by any divisions. All the divisions which we see, and these divisions and differences which are the basis of all the transactions, whether those transactions are laukika vyavahara or the shastriya vyavahara, whether these transactions are scriptural transactions or transactions of your worldly affairs, please let this one thing sink into us slowly and steadily, that it is just a transaction. And transaction becomes a reality only when it is not appreciated as a transaction. One of the sages, one of the saints, teachers whom I revere very much, had explained it to us, and I'm going to explain it to you in the same way. When you travel on the plane or in the train, you find out which seat is allocated to you. You look at the number on your ticket and then you tell, this is my seat, sir. And if somebody else is occupying that seat, he empties it because it is your seat. You adjust your luggage, you put your bags, and when your destination arrives, you collect everything that belongs to you and you get down. Everything that belongs to you, that is yours, you take it and you get down. But when you are getting down, why aren't you taking the seat along with you? Because it is your seat. Why are you not taking it? Did you not say that it belongs to you? And when you say it belongs to me, based on this, your rest of the transactions with the passengers or with everyone over there get some validity. If it really belonged to you, why aren't you taking it with you? And that is because you say that calling it as mine was only an accepted reality, but it was not an absolute reality. It is accepted to be mine, and only acceptance is what makes it appear as real. It is only acceptance. Like that, the transactional reality, the transactions are of two kinds: shastriya vyavahara and the laukika vyavahara. You taking bath, eating food, these are all laukika vyavahara. And when the scriptures tell you to do sandhya, agnihotra, etc., various rituals, then those are shastriya vyavahara. So shastriya vyavahara as well as the laukika vyavahara all are going to appear real to you as long as you accept it as real. But when you know that this consciousness is one and undivided, in which the entire world of names and forms The world of time and space is an appearance in the consciousness. You can do those interactions with the world, transactions with the world, but now you can carry it very lightly. And therefore, in order to gain this knowledge, in the sense, the process through which the knowledge will become free from doubts and contradictions, samshaya and viparyaya. The viparyaya consisting as I am jiva, I am this limited entity, I am this ego, I am the doer, I am the experiencer experiencing joys and sorrows. I do certain things, right and wrong, good and bad, and as a consequence of all this, I suffer joys and sorrows. I experience joys and sorrows. So I am an experiencer. You become an experiencer only in association with the mind and the senses. You become the doer only in association with the karmendriyas and the buddhi. But intrinsically you, without being associated with any of these conditions, how are you? And that is told by the Upanishad that your intrinsic nature is consciousness, and therefore this consciousness is not a quality which belongs to you, but your pure being is this consciousness, and this consciousness is one, undivided. Bhagavad Gita says that he whosoever knows it, nirdosham hi samam brahma, he whosoever has known this one Brahma, he attains that equilibrium, that equanimity, that peace which surpasses everything. And having attained this, having known this as the nature of the self, then one, that mind abides in it, and mind, when starts abiding in Brahman, in this consciousness, understanding this as the reality, now the mind dissolves, and this dissolution of the mind is called as the nirbija samadhi, even in yoga sutras or the yoga shastra, the seedless samadhi. This is what is the abiding state of the wise man, of the Brahmajnani. And therefore, when he bestows his blessings on you, that blessing means that he is, when he gives this teaching to you and you receive it with sincerity, honesty, with love and with respect, when you become a receptacle, when you become a vessel to hold that blessing, to hold that teaching in your heart, in your mind, in your intelligence, then a real benediction dawns on you. This benediction, this blessing is called as the Brahma Vidashirvada. This is the true blessing of the teacher. हिरण्यगर्भादि स्थावरांतेषु यद एकम चैतन्यमस्ति तदहमस्मि इति दृढ़ज्ञानम मे भूयात्। तदेवाहमस्मि इति दृढ़ज्ञानम मे भूयात्. This is what he says, having approached a teacher. He says, "O great master, bless me. May this knowledge take place." And how this knowledge has to be dridhashyanam, knowledge which is not rattled, by doubts, knowledge which is not shaken by any experiences of joys and sorrows. Because whenever we have physical ailments or little emotional turmoil, the knowledge simply seems to simply gets evaporated, lost. May this not happen. Let this knowledge remain bright and brilliant always, no matter what is the condition of the body, no matter whatever is the condition around me, whether it is a very turbulent emotional condition or whether my physical body is undergoing any ailments, any suffering. Yet this knowledge, may it always remain bright and brilliant, not rattled, not lost, not evaporated, not shaken, not in tremors. Dridashyanam, firm. And that firmness of the knowledge has got nothing to do with firm faith or anything like that. This is not the work of the ego, because to keep the faith is what the ego's work is. Have firm faith. The ego has to keep faith. This is just not that. It means it is knowledge and it is firm. It is firm because it cannot get shaken. If you have the knowledge that this is a red rose, because your eyes have reported to you honestly that it is a red rose in front of you. Now, even if some Brahmadeva was going to descend in front of you and tell you that it is not a red rose, but it is a coconut, you are going to say, Brahmadeva, you can please go back. With all due respect to you, this is a red rose. Even if it is you telling me with all your four mouths, I cannot accept it, because this is my knowledge, my experience, which is brought to me by the appropriate means of knowledge. And this knowledge, I have no doubt, I have no contradictions, whether it is a rose or a coconut. I know it is a rose. I know it has to be a rose without any doubt and without any contradictions. And therefore, nothing in this world can shake this knowledge. That is what is called as the firmness of the knowledge. Therefore, Dridashyanam me bhuyat, may that knowledge become firm in me. Tadevahamasmi, and I am that consciousness, one consciousness, which is there in all the beings, right from the Hiranyagarbha to the most insignificant bacteria or an amoeba. Everything, that what pervades the entire world of names and forms, the world of gross and subtlety, grossness and subtlety, everything together of vyashti and samashti, of individuality and totality, everything, that one consciousness which pervades this all, that consciousness I am. May such knowledge take place. And this is the blessing that I seek from the teacher. When this is the blessing that you seek from the teacher, the words of the teacher are then capable of delivering the knowledge, setting it free from contradictions, from the samshaya and viparyaya, thus opening the gates of liberation for you. And therefore, when you are going to the teacher, you should know what to ask. You don't land up over there looking left and right, asking for some personal favors. Personal favors have got no meaning. Personal favors are just a way of confirming that the ego is real, is true. Nothing like that. Therefore, friends, may this knowledge take place, and this is what is the prayer that is offered at the feet of the teacher. I think we have discussed this for quite some time. If there are any questions, perhaps I can answer you in short. And if there are no questions, I would say that reflect on this teaching, on whatever was discussed just now, even for a few minutes. That itself will be a great blessing to you. Is there any question? All right. Since there is no question that I see coming up, I will like to thank Vibhaji and her team and offer my pranams Namo Narayana Hari Om to Pujya Swamiji and will the session here. Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnamad Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamidam Om Shanti.
Pranam Swamiji, thank you very much.